past. Although a person close to me is a person who just doesn't say, but does. Representative of the Legion Liberty Russia, we will call him by the call sign he wears. Caesar, welcome as me. Do you hear? Hello, I'm glad to see you, I'm glad to see you. Here's similar, I haven't seen you for a long time, I was on a trip for a month, I didn't see you, how are you? Well, we also left now defensive battles, yes, the Donetsk region is the only direction, perhaps where the orcs are now advancing. That's because in other directions they are doing much worse. Look, since you are our first time on the channel, then of course I wanted to ask you as much as possible. Said that we understand all the considerations related to the safety of the personal safety of relatives and the security of the unit, but what can you tell about how the Legion of Freedom of Russia was formed, what it is like? Now represents, or I know I probably would not say, so let's say so, completed like this. The verb has developed, yes, it develops, that is, the Legion is dynamically developing, it is growing, it will be even grow. There are a lot of people who want to join the Legion, we are growing structurally and therefore we have a great future, we know the final. The goal of our journey is how everything will end up with a blue and white flag over the Kremlin. Well, I absolutely believe in it that we will definitely do it together, but I was looking for a big queue there. Join the regions. I am a witness here because, well, people wrote to me all the time even before we started to form this political center of ours, and so on. Anyway, knowing that I am in Ukraine, they wrote me now the number. These letters, it grew there, I don't know 10 times, but who writes and says that he wants to get into the Legion in the first place? How big is the queue? Are we talking about thousands of people who want to sign up, or I want to immediately to apologize for a possible communication problem? Here I have a signal coming with a very long delay, we drove off the line. Front under Bakhmut directly, the connection is disgusting, enemy rap work there, it's generally problematic, yes. To give an interview, you can get a projectile on the head, that's why, just in case, before I warn you that if there are any, will be with a connection so that you understand. Thank you, no, we hear you very well, if you can answer the question here. Wishing to join the Legion, and why is there such a long queue? That's the problem, people write to us all the time and they say we wrote something to us there, but we can't get feedback in any way, we want to come to Ukraine. So that you tell them. The fact is that this is a very important security issue. You probably understand that it costs one traitor to get into the ranks of the Legion and he will create a number of problems, therefore. Ukrainian special services very carefully check profiles, very carefully check candidates in order to some shadow from the FSB did not get into our ranks, but how much this vary? The queue after the mobilization was announced, or it has grown at times, it grew up many times earlier than people, many, like an ostrich, hid their heads of reality, yes, but now. Russian, how is he used to watching the war on TV, their brave little green men, he is drinking beer on the couch, all this. He is watching, and now the hanger has come home, an employee of the military enlistment office called at the door, yes, that is, the war came to him in the house. Is there a certain Major Petrov on TV is going to storm the Don base and he himself needs to be here in the mud in the trenches. To be under shelling, therefore, naturally, many began to wonder if it was necessary. Do they want to accept this participation, and those people who already had strong doubts, let's say, the justice of this war, they naturally having no choice on the side of good. And how did you yourself get into the Legion? My story is very simple. I have been an opponent of the Putin regime for over 15 years, and initially I was a supporter of radical actions. I understood that nothing can be done with flags and rallies with this government. That's why I was a supporter of the armed displacement of power. And when, let's say this to Ukraine, somehow I could not put up with this, just like my comrades from the Legion, I decided join Ukraine's defensive holy war to defend its freedom. And the second stage will, of course, be after the liberation of Ukraine. And when and how did you get in touch with representatives of the Legion? Almost from the very beginning of its appearance, that is, it was somewhere in March. Probably. So that's how you found out about him. Internet, of course, internet. How now the information war is being waged almost openly. A person who wants to know the truth, he will find it. It is generally available, yes, and therefore it was not difficult to find information about Legion. Applied to pass the test and join. You were on the territory of Russia at that time, correct? Yes, of course. How did you apply? Well, just tell us so that our viewers who want to do the same understand that should be done through the Telegram channel Legion of Freedom, but you have to be careful because the FSB creates fake Telegram channels on our Telegram channel, and now 130,000 subscribers. Let it be some. The Legion of Freedom Telegram channel is a landmark, that is, everyone who wants can come there. Right, and know that this data will be safe and that it will fall into good hands. Yes, absolutely, exactly as I see the defenders of Ukraine here. They are in Lefortovo or some other gloomy place. And what can you say about the current state of affairs in the Legion? Here is a man there. Arrived, for example. Yes, what happens next? He passes the test. After that, some training. How it happens? Equipment. That how it all looks. And of course we are going through a thorough preparation of Ukraine. Absolutely, I think you know a different attitude by your warrior than to the woeful mobilized in Russia. No one abandons his soldiers are like cannon fodder, trying to stop the shells with them. We have been thoroughly trained. We are well equipped. Here is one of the elements I have, not a Kalashnikov assault rifle. This is much more serious, deadly weapons, and we have thorough training. We have excellent professional instructors. We have good equipment, and our Legion is moving towards increasing its organizational capabilities. Fire capabilities, that is, before we started, as we already have our own artillery, that is, everything goes according to growing. And what is the goal? What is it in general? How is the command structured? Command is also Russians, or is it Ukrainian military command? NSKY military, where we fight with our brothers from many other countries of the world. Together, and many others. What is this war? From Poland, from America, from Canada to in the Foreign Legion there are even Koreans, Japanese, Brazilians, New Zealanders, that is, the whole wide world stood up to protect Ukraine. What is their motivation for us all the time? Russian propaganda says that they are mercenaries, but if the Russians have, I understand that this is a political motivation. Ilya, I perfectly understand it is beneficial for the Kremlin to say they measure everyone by themselves. Yes. They try on their insides on others. I don't think that you can cheat only for money on the very In fact, believe any of these men abroad received more, they say, so we did not come here for money, we came here to defend the main values, the basic values of humanity, the most important value of humanity. Understand this freedom is the freedom to live as you want, that's what they came for, and many understand that if Putin's horde cannot be stopped here, they will go further. Well, let's say what motivation is. There is a Korean to come to Ukraine, he has some political views there, I don't know the left. Right. That's how he found out about this war, that's how the realization came to him that he had to be here. I think that they already immediately learned about this war, all this must be an ostrich and deeply dig in the sand so as not to understand what is happening, and it's not just a war when two armies collide who are waging a civilized nightly war, behaving like a knight on the battlefield, and Russian Federation, she is behaving in the worst traditions of the horde, barbaric bombardment, monstrous war crimes, so more and more she sets up the whole world of war, was ashamed of her country, and this there was such shame and disgrace that it can only be washed away with blood, only in the fight against this regime, there is no other way. Well, look at this shame. Well, we constantly read various social networks there, and of course a very large number. They write Ukrainians like this in the style, well, so that everyone dies, yes, and in theory one could assume. Well, the closer to the front line, the tougher such statements should be in practice, I know what it is. Strictly the opposite, usually the most viciously spoken by people who either sit in the rear or in general who are representatives of the diaspora who were last there in Ukraine 20 years ago. Started to take such a position that you see around you being on the front line. What attitude to the fighters, Legion from colleagues, from military personnel, Zesu respectfully, how much you communicate, yes, how much you communicate at all, what kind of interaction is normal, absolutely normal, communication is absolutely normal. Normal interaction, that is, as with equals, just as with equals, respect because they sometimes bewilderment because are there really normal Russians, yes, and respect as people who understand whose side is the truth on, and not just go to rallies or write something on the internet, but respect for legionnaires as people who are ready to lay down their lives for the right of Ukrainians. And how they see the future. We recently conducted a sociological survey among Ukrainians. We didn't hold it, that is, the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine held it there, but at my request they put several questions from our political center and questions about the future, yes, and here is one of the questions. Which they said, should Ukraine influence the future of Russia? Should Ukraine participate in shaping of the future Russian government? I don't think Ukrainians were divided there from 45% to 45% no, well, 10%. It means that those who have not decided how people at the front look at it, so they think that the army will reach the border, what after? To go to Moscow or build a fence, or in general on this topic nobody thinks. Ilya, you correctly said that here. About 50 to 50 to mean half probably sums it up like this: ditch with crocodiles, Neras crocodiles, let there. Somehow they live in their swamps, they never touch us again, we don't need anything from them here. On the other hand, the most interesting thing is that we are legionnaires by our example, we give a chance not only to the inhabitants of Russia, and an example to the inhabitants of Russia, we legionnaires give Ukrainians hope that next to them there will be a sane country that will not climb anywhere with its rusty rockets to destroy and rob someone, and this Of course, I think that for them it's like a revelation as some kind of chance for a normal future too. After all, everyone understands perfectly well that if the Putin regime does not deflate, that if it does not fall, then the war will return to Ukraine. Again, well, I think this is just very very important, but not everyone understands this. Moreover, in the Ukrainian leadership, but let's say Ukrainian society, some of them don't even want to think about it. Well, Ilya, as once Kievan Russian. She built Moscow Russian. Where did it come from? They tell everyone about historical roots to rewrite history books and at the same time forget. Where did Russia come from? She went from Kiev and she went there to the north of Moscow, and there she somehow rotted in the swamps, yes. And now it turned out such a disgrace as now, but naturally, it should influence, tell me, but you are talking between yourself about how this is what she is. Beautiful Russia of the future, is there any dominant point of view in the Legion? Well, I don't know if there is. Some views I know that you are more from the right segment of the political spectrum, but there is some kind of dominant point of view, if some kind of ideal that should be strived for in the opinion of the Legion of Freedom of Russia. Yes, this ideal of Ilya can be described if, in short, this is a state for people. A state for the people, that is, this is a welfare state, not a state where the reins were released. A state where people who have seized power do everything that they do with the help of lawlessness or his power, but a state that will be built for the people, a state that will be built for the peoples. Russia, where no one will be infringed. This is the main